Welcome to this OHO replay of Super Saiyan Goku and Vegeta from RGT, and we're here on Lakeville to see what we can do. As we can see, this is a nice tier 8 matchmaking for this tank. He's top tier, which is always good in a heavy tank. It's always nice when you're the top dog and not actually the bottom. And we'll just see how he performs in this match. Myself, I'm on the OI Experimental at the moment, which is the tier 5 Japanese heavy, and I've not really had the incentive to keep grinding this line, mainly because it's not used in Clan Wars and Strongholds, and that is currently the main mode I play. I rarely play random, so it's not really an incentive to grind. But from this replay, it actually looks like quite a fun tank once the when the matchmaking actually feels like it, because being this ginormous RT XP and damage pinata, you don't really want to be in an overly exposed position for too long, because you'll just catch shot after shot after shot, lose all your HP, and be a very sad panda. But in this matchmaking, because Super Saiyan actually goes into the city, he won't have much trouble with Artie. I mean, at this point he isn't even spotted, and he's still putting really nice damage into this KV4. The disadvantage to the OHO though is that it has a derp gun, and at this tier, while a derp gun is all fun and games, the shells themselves are pretty lackluster. The AP shot has 121 penetration, heat only 150, and HE has got pretty much no penetration at all. So it's a bit of a dual-edged blade in that sense, because while this gun with HE works wonders on lower tier tanks with less armor, as soon as you come up against like tier 9 and potentially even tier 10 tanks, which this tank actually sees, you're going to have a lot of trouble actually scoring damage. Because I mean, if it's anything like the T49, this gun will do 300 damage if you're lucky on most tier 10s from the front and the side. The rear obviously will work better, but since in T49 that is actually an option due to the mobility, and this tank not so much. I mean, good luck outmaneuvering, say, a T110E5 in this thing, because it's just not going to happen. Super Saiyan actually moved into the town because there's a lot more stuff to be done here, and there we can see shot on the T34. Obviously it doesn't penetrate, still does like 350 damage, 360 damage, so it's not too bad. And the reload itself is, I believe, something like 12 seconds, so no, 13 seconds actually. So in that respect, I mean, it isn't the worst DPM, but it's inconsistent DPM, whereas for instance the T34 has got really slow reload as well. It will pretty much always do around 400 damage, and with this gun it's sort of the question how much damage it will do, because HE is greatly temperamental in this game. I've noticed that as well in the T49, but I mean, Super Saiyan is cleaning up nicely here so far. He's got a bit of backup of this STA1, the STA1 being quite a nice tank in engagements like this as well, if it's top tier, because it has a gun that has 218 penetration, which is really good actually on that tier. So he put some nice damage in, and he managed to unfortunately get shot by Artie, which doesn't work on the STA1. It has no armor. Artie is also going for Super Saiyan, and here you could briefly see how tall this tank is. He was looking at that T3485, and look how tall this thing is. I must say though, despite it being completely butt ugly, I quite like the model of this tank though. I like the tracks on the side and all the stuff hanging off. It gives it a really old-fashioned sort of Victorian industrial kind of look to it. It's quite interesting. I mean, and for such a huge tank it's relatively mobile as well, which is surprising. So far Super Saiyan has got 3 kills, and the other flank is completely overrun. He's alone with 2 teammates against, let's count, 6-7 enemies. So yeah, still not too shabby an engagement, because 3 of the enemies are arty, so It's 4 tanks versus 4 pretty much at the moment. So unfortunately the TVP VTU gets taken out by the Hummel, another paper tank which you should never be sitting in the open like that guy did. Super Saiyan shoots the Cromwell in the side and pulls back behind the buildings. You can see he's got experience driving this tank in general, because he sticks relatively close to all the buildings in the city to prevent Artie from having easy shots on this tank, because while frontally the armor isn't terrible, it's not really like super heavily armored either, because it's got weak spots. For instance, the cheeks that you can see next to the gun turrets, the diagonal cheeks, if you try to side scrape, if people can easily penetrate those. And there's a few other weak spots riddled on this tank, but not so much for lower tier tanks. And one of the other disadvantages in this tank is the gun depression. While frontally it's not too shabby, since it has 2 of the mini turrets actually on the front, it means the gun jumps up because the hitbox of the gun has to go over the turret, so you can't actually get the gun down far enough. So he has to do all kinds of weird tricks to actually angle and get gun depression. You can see you can get the gun depression over the turret, but once you get to the turret, the gun jumps up. So it's something you have to take into account when playing this tank. The lower tiers don't really have this problem yet, but especially the higher tiers do have this problem. And there you can see the Hellcat receiving a shot, being set on fire. And who uses a premium fire extinguisher on the Hellcat? That thing is, the extinguisher is almost more expensive than the whole TD combined. It's not really worth it, and I think in this matchmaking to have automatic fire extinguishers. You leave those for like tier 8 tanks, not tier 6 ones. Unfortunately, the T-34 is absolutely hammered by artillery, and Super Saiyan is now sort of caught in a bit of a rough place. He knows the artillery just fired. It was, I think, at least 2 that fired, so he has a bit of breathing space. That's number 3. So he moves across the crossing to just stay behind these buildings, yet at the same time increasing the distance between him and this DD. And what the T-25 was thinking, we shall never know, but doing that was one of the most stupid things you could ever do. You know he's aiming at you, why the hell would you cross the street? But yeah, I guess this is why people lose games. Dumb decisions. So now he's just keeping an eye on that guy, and again he pops out. I know he might be trying to spot for Artie, but there's more useful ways you can do that actually. So now it's just Super Saiyan with 6 kills up against 3 more Artie. So if he wins this, that would be very nice. He waits a little bit to get despotted, then moves into the cap. He's still got 7 minutes on the clock, so he doesn't need to necessarily cap instantly at the moment. And he moves up a little bit to spot what is happening, doesn't see anything, and keeps moving. I mean, it is, or it could be well possible that the artillery is actually on the way to the cap zone. That wouldn't be weird. I mean, one of them should spot for the others, but the others should also take care to be in useful positions for the spot if it happens. And here you can see the sort of terrible mobility, horsepower to ton ratio of this tank when going uphill. It sort of slows to a crawl. I mean, it's not uncommon for super heavy tanks, but I mean, on the horizontal stretch it's not too bad actually. It's quite mobile, especially in turning. If you look at it like that, it's not too shabby, although the top speed is not really anything to write home about. It's still not bad. I mean, the mouse has worse mobility, so yeah. He tries to get a shot on the Hummel, doesn't get a shot, but the Hummel doesn't spot him. He spots the Hummel for some reason, so I don't know how that happened. And now he moves back to the cap. He knows where the Hummel is. And then he spots the artillery. But the artillery doesn't seem to have sixth sense, so kills the artillery. He gets spotted by the front track of that M4043 for some reason, because apparently the tracks have vision. There's actually a periscope in there that the driver uses to spot enemy tanks right from the front track or something. But yeah, so some interesting spotting mechanics there. And now the KV2 calls hacks on Super Saiyan, because I don't think the Artie was actually spotted, so or didn't get 6 cents. He was spotted but did have 6 cents, so he was kind of confused, and the Super Saiyan is laughing a bit. And he moves. Well, he starts to move to the other side again now while typing with the KV2, and here is the problem where when it's 2 versus 1. You should not really be focusing on typing in this kind of engagement, even though the chances of you being one shot are close to 0. You should not really focus on the cap at this point, because the enemy Artie actually got spotted, aims at Super Saiyan and misses luckily. And Super Saiyan was too late to react because he was typing. He could have actually killed that guy now. And Hummel actually puts a shot in as well, which luckily misses. So Super Saiyan moves to this side, and then I think he was thinking about typing again because he's not actually aiming at the corner, and now he wakes up again, but it's too late to actually shoot the Artie. I mean, yeah, you've got like 3.5 minutes on the clock, but you should really pay attention to what the hell is going on in the map or in the battle. But now he's actually pre-aimed on the corner and not getting distracted by typing. And now it's just a case of waiting. Artie is a bit dumb, comes out and gets 1 shot, so yeah, GG for him. So that's Super Saiyan up to 8 kills, and now there's only 1 Artie remaining. So that's not too shabby. Needs to get despotted first though. And he takes the other way out and don't want to go the same way. And there we can see the enemy M44. Don't know what he's doing, mountain goating. Unfortunately, Super Saiyan is slightly too late to put a shot in. Artie notices that he's getting shot at, so he actually is doing something relatively smart, which is hiding behind the KV4. But if you're up against the rock face, that will actually not save your tank, because Super Saiyan just splashed a rock behind the artillery and killed him. So this was a really nice match for the tier 8 Oho. He actually, Super Saiyan managed to get 2000 base XP on this tank, as well as his 3rd gun mark. And I don't know why the gun marks in this replay are not visible on his tank, because they were on the STA1 next to him early on. So I don't know what's going on with that, but he has actually, this match got him the 3rd gun barrel mark as well. He did 5,991 damage this match, which is really impressive for like a derp gun that does like 300 damage on average. So not too shabby. He also got the Pascucci medal, the Radley Walters for more than 8 kills, the high caliber and the Top Gun. So yeah, all in all, a really solid match, and it goes to show that this thing can actually perform if it's sort of left in its natural habitat and not being obstructed by being chucked in a tier 10 match and getting pounded into the dirt by Artie. So yeah, I quite like this replay, hope you did as well. Feel free to rate it, subscribe to the channel, and see you guys next time.